With the biggest story of the day, and that is the news that DeWanna Bonner is no longer with the Indiana Fever. It was reported last night that DeWanna Bonner had no intentions on returning to the Indiana Fever, and then the news broke today that the Indiana Fever had
This is the story of how a respected veteran unraveled her own legacy in just a matter of weeks and faced instant karma. DeWanna Bonner shocked the WNBA world when she abruptly walked away from CaitlinClark and the Indiana Fever, a move widely seen as a stunning betrayal. Her bold attempt to force a trade and land on a new team has backfired spectacularly. Now, Bonner isn't just without a team. She's lost millions in potential earnings, and her once proud reputation is in shambles.
She said, "I want to sincerely thank the Indiana Fever for the opportunity to be part of the Fever franchise. Despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out, and I appreciate the organization's willingness to grant my request to move on, particularly at this point in my career. I wish the Fever great success as they continue to build around this dynamic."
The press release that first broke the news carried the usual sterile, corporate tone. In the official statement, the Indiana Fever confirmed they had granted DeWanna Bonner's request for a contract divorce. Bonner offered a carefully worded farewell, thanking the organization for the opportunity and vaguely noting that, despite shared goals, the fit simply hadn't worked out. She wished the young team continued success in their rebuild, that on the surface, it seemed like a respectful, professional parting of ways. But beneath that polished exterior lay a far more chaotic and far less friendly reality.
If another team claims her off the waivers, she gets her full salary. She gets her full salary if another team claims her off the waivers.
This wasn't about a bad fit. It was a calculated decision, one that left a young, impressionable team in the lurch. DeWanna Bonner, once seen as a guiding presence, walked away just as the pressure surrounding CaitlinClark reached a boiling point. The team were left to navigate an avalanche of media scrutiny on their own. Behind the carefully crafted statement was a harsh reality. A respected veteran had abandoned her squad mid-season, triggering chaos in a locker room that desperately needed leadership and stability.
I think that makes DeWanna Bonner look really, really bad. It makes DB look really, really bad. And it's the fact that she has told all other teams, other than the Mercury, don't sign her.
When a WNBA player's contract expires, they're placed on waivers, a system that gives all 11 other teams a 48-hour window to claim the player and take on their full, guaranteed salary. In DeWanna Bonner's case, that meant $200,000 for the season. Given her resume, 3 All-Star appearances, and a championship pedigree, she seemed like an easy pickup. The clock started ticking. But as the 48-hour deadline came and went, the silence across the league was deafening. Not a single team made a move. After that, she became a free agent, essentially a no-risk asset for any team in need of scoring depth or veteran leadership. And yet, no calls came. A player once seen as a difference maker was suddenly unwanted.
And look, I understand that's where she wants to go. Why didn't she go there in the summer? We know why, because she couldn't have got her max contracts. And by the way, people are like, oh, they can give her the minimum. No, they can't. The Phoenix Mercury can give her a prorated $80,000 salary for the rest of the year. So she's only going to lose about 30K-ish. I think she's only going to lose, she's going to lose about 40, 50K. Whereas they would have been only able to sign her earlier on. Well, they would only be able to sign her for nothing. Because again, we can't forget as well, the Phoenix Mercury cut Sevgi Uzun. The Phoenix Mercury have a bunch of players signed on hardships and a bunch of players that they can cut. Like they literally cap space magicked up. And as soon as cap space magics up for the India or for the Phoenix Mercury,
this moment shattered any illusion of a respectful or mutual parting. It wasn't just a breakup, it was a league-wide rejection. Not a single WNBA team claimed DeWanna Bonner off waivers. Every franchise evaluated the situation and came to the same conclusion. She wasn't worth the trouble, even for free. But as the dust settled, a red flag emerged that exposed just how toxic her exit from Indiana had become. Behind the scenes, according to league insiders, Bonner had been orchestrating a bold and reckless power play. She was reportedly reaching out to teams directly, urging them not to claim her off waivers. Her plan? To manipulate the system and force her way to one specific destination: The Phoenix Mercury. The audacity was staggering that we've seen elite players in their prime, like Jimmy Butler, draw sharp criticism for demanding trades. But Bonner, a 36-year-old veteran clearly in the twilight of her career, was trying to dictate terms like a superstar free agent. She had willingly signed a legally binding contract, yet now wanted both the freedom to walk away and total control over where she landed next. It was a gamble built on arrogance, and it backfired badly. The fatal flaw in her scheme? Phoenix, the very team she alienated the rest of the league to join, reportedly wasn't eager to welcome her. According to sources, the Mercury's front office had serious concerns. Why would they disrupt the chemistry of a young, overachieving roster just to bring in a veteran who had proven she'd walk away the moment things got difficult? Bonner had left Indiana, assuming Phoenix would offer a soft landing. Instead, she found herself unwelcome, her reputation damaged, and her options limited. The financial fallout was just as devastating. By clearing waivers unclaimed and eventually signing with Phoenix, Bonner forfeited the remainder of her guaranteed $200,000 contract. Instead, she signed a prorated veteran minimum deal, worth approximately $80,000 for the rest of the season. That a simple bit of math reveals the tragedy. She voluntarily gave up over $120,000 in guaranteed salary. It was a staggering self-inflicted financial wound, one born out of pride and a failed power play. What she believed would be a savvy move ended up making her look not just selfish, but profoundly short-sighted in the eyes of league executives and fans alike. But perhaps the greatest damage wasn't to her bank account or public image. It was to the locker room she left behind. The Indiana Fever, a young team navigating the intense, often overwhelming media circus that surrounds CaitlinClark, lost the one veteran voice meant to guide them through the storm. Bonner's exit wasn't just a professional misstep. It was a personal failure, and the ripple effects were felt most by the people who needed her the most. CaitlinClark was introduced to the WNBA under the brightest spotlight the league had ever seen. The media painted her as the rookie sensation, guided by the steady hand of a seasoned mentor, DeWanna Bonner. During preseason games and early practices, Clark's excitement was obvious. She went out of her way to connect with Bonner, eager to absorb the wisdom of a veteran who had seen it all. But instead of offering that mentorship, Bonner sent a very different message, one not just to Clark, but to the entire young Indiana Fever roster. When things get tough, you can walk away. It wasn't just a disappointing decision. It was an act of professional abandonment. For perhaps the first time in her career, CaitlinClark was left stranded, without the leadership she had been promised and had clearly counted on. And yet, what spoke loudest in the aftermath wasn't what was said, but what wasn't. In professional sports, there exists an unspoken code. Players, especially veterans, typically rally behind one another during conflicts with management. When an athlete feels mistreated or misunderstood, you often hear others step in to defend them, or, at the very least, offer understanding. But when DeWanna Bonner exited the Fever, the league responded with silence. No players came to her defense. No veteran cited this as a stand for player empowerment. Not a single public endorsement emerged. That silence was a message in itself, a silent condemnation. It spoke volumes about how Bonner's peers saw her actions, not as courageous, but as self-serving. Not as a strategic move, but as a betrayal of trust and professionalism. Yet the damage went beyond personal disappointment. Bonner's exit raises a troubling question for the WNBA's future. What happens to the integrity of contracts if players can simply walk away mid-season without consequence? If a respected veteran can orchestrate a self-serving departure and still land where she wants, what's to stop others from doing the same? This sets a dangerous precedent. For small market teams like Indiana, stability is built on contracts. These franchises can't compete with the allure of glamorous markets or massive media deals. They rely on commitment and continuity. When a player can walk away mid-contract and essentially negotiate her way to a more desirable team, it undermines the foundational structure of the league. In an era that rightly celebrates player empowerment, DeWanna Bonner's story draws a hard line between empowerment and entitlement, between advocating for your future and outright abandoning your responsibilities. In the end, she did get what she wanted, her move to Phoenix. But it came at a steep price, a shattered reputation, over $100,000 in lost salary, and a legacy forever altered. Bonner was once known as a champion, a leader, and a veteran presence. But now, she risks being remembered for something else entirely. The player who quit on CaitlinClark and the Indiana Fever to end trying to force control over her future, she may have lost control of how she'll be remembered.